Like, we're at a point where living our best life isn't something we're waiting for. Living our best life in 2018 is almost non-negotiable. Do owe it to ourselves, and even to our relationships and those we're in the ship with, whatever kind of ship you in. We owe it to those around us for the purposes of better engagement, stronger relationships, stronger ships that we're sharing these spaces in, to get rid of that residue so that it doesn't come off on other people, so that we're not hurting other people because we're hurting. Yeah, today we're going to discover what the second re in the ReNewU series is. And it actually rhymes with recoup, so, you know, chances are you probably already know what it is now. So we're going to talk about it here in a few minutes. Just keep watching. Thank you for watching. And if you didn't see the lovely little pink subscribe floaty, please be sure to do so, or at least click your notifications to the degree that you want to be notified when I drop a new video. Otherwise, I'm going to definitely tell you on Twitter and Instagram. Again, Taylor by Tova with an X, not a Y. I'm about to make a run to my my first favorite drive-through, my drive-through of all times, which is, Sonic, because it's almost 2 o'clock, and that means everything is half price. Yay for me, because I am on a very, very strict budget, and it has absolutely nothing to do with Christmas. I gotta get on my favorite side. Of course, we talked about that. This is my real favorite one. This is the one I like the best. All right. Yay. Ha ha ha. When you see that little red button, you know where I am. I never use a straw, just so you know. That's some trivia for you. I never use a straw. I always order extra ice for a couple of reasons. I just love the ice. Number 2, if I'm drinking something carbonated, then that means less soda in the cup, which I don't need it. I don't need all that sugar. So, especially if I end up going through some things and I'm here every day, I don't need all of that carbonation. So, yeah, that's what I do. Cheers! Okay, let's get right on into number 2, which is regroup. Started off with recoup, now we're regrouping. Regrouping is important for a couple of reasons, because when you have finally taking a moment to rid yourself of the residue, as we talked about last week, sometimes you feel like you don't have any resources, or you've depleted everything that you were working with in order to get you through, or in order to get you over when we're going through things, we often are in survival mode, and we think, oh my goodness, we're rationing our resources, or we're rationing our energy. But regrouping gives you an opportunity to look really on the inside and on the outside, and determine, actually I had overlooked that I had this skill, or I had this ability, or I had this, or I knew I had a relationship, or I had a connection that would enable me to leverage some things that I actually can do on my own, or I can improve upon. So regrouping gives you an opportunity to really think of strategies, strategizing what works and what doesn't. Since we've discarded the emotional and all that extra weight so that we can actually see clearly, now that we've done that, we can go back and say, okay, mentally, from an internal perspective, I know I have a habit of thinking a certain way. I have a habit of creating a certain pattern of thought. I use the same palette. I never clean it. I'm just going back through mixing the same colors, and now everything looks like mud. Regrouping gives you an opportunity to go back mentally and say, there are some thoughts, there are some ideas, there are some methods that are good, and you should keep those. You also have some you need to dust off, because in the course of a year and in our excitement and our zeal to get started, along the way there's some things that kind of start falling off. A lot of people start off with these wonderful resolutions, and they're like, yes, I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that and blah 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 blah, and they have a list. They really have no strategy on how they're going to accomplish anything. They just have this list of a to-do list. And when you look at it like that, sometimes it can be overwhelming because you have no path of how you set out to accomplish this thing. So basically, regrouping is going back through in your mental basket, your mental folders, and saying, these I want to keep. This has no merit. It's not serving me at all. And I want to reassess all of the internal resources that I have. Not everything that you've already had needs to be discarded. Some things can be retooled. You can take the core, work around it, get rid of what doesn't work, and then add what does or modify it. But then there are times where you just need to cold turkey, or the best way that you can transition from thinking or using the same method to accomplish something or to try to do something or to try to work something out. Now's the time for you to do some research, do some reading, find sources that talk about some of the things that you're looking at changing or implementing emotionally, mentally, internally. Sometimes we have to go back through our mental storage system and see what's in there and get rid of it. And then again, recollect the stuff that makes sense for us to keep, because a lot of the stuff that we have in our thinking, a lot of the stuff that we have in how we interact and engage has nothing to do with the now, has everything to do with what we have experienced. And although the hindsight of experience is great to have, we can't live there. We have to be able to make sure we're practically and very much correctly applying it to the now, the present. You might need to look at your circle. You might need to look at your environment. You may need to look at whatever you do for a living. It may need to change. And there may have been situations and series of events that had occurred that probably was trying to push you even before now, but you were like, nah, I can't do that. And I was having a conversation with somebody, and sometimes we think we can't afford to leave or we can't afford to make that change, but sometimes you can't afford not to. Harvest what you need and discard the rest. Regroup, retool, take the resources that we have, find some that we didn't realize we had. Find some gifts that you just kind of were like, oh, that was over there in the corner. Some skills, like brush up on some stuff. Sometimes we have to clean ourselves and cleanse ourselves of, number one, trying to be what somebody else wants or what we think they want. We just have to learn how to be a better version of ourselves. And constantly throughout this whole process, it's all about how to get to that improved version. We're shedding old stuff. Stuff that no longer fits. Again, we got to realize that the familiar can be detrimental if we're not careful. And every so often it's good to regroup mentally, regroup from an external standpoint. Is your network equivalent to your net worth? Do you see the correlation there? Do you see the results from the people that you associate with or the environments that you're in? Find people that not only have a similar interest or mindset, but also people who are on the same wavelength in terms of what they want out of life and going after it. They have to be the same kind of hungry that you are, even if they're not pursuing the same thing. Thank you for listening. And this is about practicality. I'm not trying to give you some magic spell. I don't know how to do that, because if I did, trust me, we wouldn't be having this conversation right here. If it didn't take work to get to your end result, yeah, this wouldn't even be applicable. But it's going to take work. It's going to take some elbow grease. It's going to take a concerted, collective, and conscious effort, and you're going to have to be deliberate. So anyway, thanks for tuning in, and that is my time. I'm looking